Hello and welcome to the Mechanic Cooks. Today we're going to make stuffed peppers. I love them. Ground beef sauteed with onions, garlic, spices, and tomatoes to make a deep, rich sauce stuffed into sweet bell peppers and baked to create the classic dish we all love. First, I'll set a couple of tomatoes to steam while I'm doing the rest of the prep. Then remove the skin and chop them up to add later during the cooking. Fresh tomatoes are so flavorful. Now to start the savory base, diced onions and garlic. For the protein, I'm using ground chuck, not because it's specific to this recipe, but because I have some in the freezer, and I like to use what I have on hand. Now, this comes with some advantages and disadvantages. Because the ratio is 25% fat to 75% meat, it has a higher fat content, but fat is flavor, which is good. However, fat is not healthy, which is obviously bad. There's an easy solution to this dilemma. Pre-cook the beef, drain the fat in the liquid, and then saute with the onions. So, in a preheated oiled pan over medium heat, add the meat. Break it up as it cooks. When it's done, as in no pink, remove the meat with a slotted spoon to separate the meat from the liquid and set the meat aside. I poured the fat and juices into a bowl for you to see. Just dispose of it. You don't have to clean the pan, that's all flavor. Add some oil, and when hot, add the onions. Stir them around. I want them to soften and get some color, about 2 to 3 minutes. Add the garlic. Because the garlic is cut finer than the onion, add it later so it won't burn. Mix everything together and let it cook for a couple more minutes. Add the pre-cooked meat. Mix everything well. The flavors of the onions and the garlic need to spread throughout. Are you enjoying this recipe? Have you made this? Please leave a comment, I'd love to hear from you. Remember those tomatoes I set to steam at the beginning of the video? Well, now is a great time to add them. The mixture needs a little liquid, and mix everything together. As for the spices, they're all dehydrated, so the tomato I just added will help them to rehydrate and spread their flavor. As always, mix well. Time to add the rice. I like to add something to soak up the flavors a bit and bring a little texture to the meat sauce. I'm also using plain pasta sauce instead of plain tomato sauce. It brings some body and flavor. Speaking of flavor, add the chicken bouillon cube now too. Break it up, it dissolves easier. Mix everything well and add the tomato paste. This will help to thicken the sauce a bit. Allow to cook for 2 to 3 minutes. We want all the flavor layers to come together. And finally, add the corn. I like the sweetness and the color that it brings. Let it simmer over low heat for about 5 minutes, and we're ready to stuff the peppers. Now is when I add the cheese. Rather than add grated cheese to the meat sauce where it may get lost, I add cubes when I stuff the peppers. I want to be able to taste it. Speaking of peppers, cut around about 1/2 inch from the top. Remove the cap, cut off the seed pod, and rinse the inside of the pepper. Now to stuff them. Add some meat, put in a couple of cheese cubes, add some more meat, and maybe a couple more cheese cubes. Now put the cap back on and secure with a couple of toothpicks. And that's it. Do the same to the other 3. Put some pasta sauce in the pan, enough to cover the bottom. Now add some meat sauce. There will be left over from stuffing the peppers. Enough of a layer to sink the peppers into. And add a little bit of seasoning, basil and oregano. Place the stuffed peppers in the pan, put the lid on, and let them cook over a medium heat. Check periodically to make sure they're not burning. You can add some water if needed. Cook till they are done to your liking. About 1/2 hour should be enough. And there you have stuffed peppers. Enjoy and go to themechaniccooks.com for more great recipes.